Welcome to Sports and Rants, the hottest sports radio show in America.
Sports. Rants. Brett. Pants. Sports. Rants. Brett. Pants.
Welcoming your hosts, Brett and Pants.
Former tight end, three-time Pro Bowler, one of the best tight ends in Eagles history, Chad Lewis. How you doing, Chad?
Hello, Chad.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Fantastic. What's up back there in PA? You guys got some good weather?
It's raining, but it's been good. How are you doing in Utah?
Good. Today's a beautiful day, sun shining. My kids have about 400 pounds of candy that they collected last night, so they'll be up for about a week straight.
Wow. Okay. So we have just a couple questions to ask you about your career, your current position with as the AD of BYU, and we want to hear some of your thoughts on the Eagles. So let's just start it out with who do you feel had the biggest impact on your career?
You know, that's a good question because it was a combination of two people. It was Andy Reid, the head coach, and Donovan McNabb, my quarterback. Without those two guys, I don't have a job and I don't catch balls. And that's why I was there. And I had a great relationship with both. I love both of them. I still try and communicate with them as much as possible. And they changed the course of my life, which, you know, took care of my family. It gave me great opportunities, gave me an unbelievable opportunity to play in a city with fans who know the game of football, who are passionate, who care, and it couldn't have been a better situation for me.
You mentioned how you had a relationship with Andy Reid, like one of your better relationships. Did that relationship start before you were an undrafted free agent and signed with the Eagles?
The first time I met Andy was at the Combine coming out of college, and he was a tight ends coach with the Packers. And I interviewed with the Packers, and I got to know Andy, and we talked. And then the second time I met Andy, it was after I played a year and 2 games with the Eagles. I broke my ankle my second year. I was released, and then I had a workout with the Packers when Andy was still the tight ends coach of the Packers. The Rams picked me up, and the next season, Andy was given a head coaching job with the Eagles. I was with the Rams on that Super Bowl year of '99 until week 10. So after 9 games, I was released. There were 2 injuries and 2 people coming off either the PUP or a suspension list. So the Rams had 4 roster spots they had to make room for. I was released. I went back to the Eagles the next day. Andy was the head coach. And when he got there, he just said, "Hey, I know you wanted to go play with Steve Young and the 49ers, he's your buddy, but I need you here, and we're turning this thing around."
Wow.
And I promised him that day, I said, "I will get my base in the playbook. I will be ready to roll this Sunday, and I'm going to give you everything I got." And that Sunday, we played the Colts, and they were beating us. And Donovan went in he didn't start, but he went in. And he threw me a touchdown pass in the end of that game, which was his first touchdown pass. And then from then on, I thought we did a good job playing together and busting our butt and turning that program around and into a winner.
Now you talked about how you came on with the Eagles originally. You were an undrafted free agent. What was that like being an outsider coming into a team?
It was, as a rookie coming in as a free agent.
Yeah.
It was an eye-opener coming from BYU, because BYU, as you know, has a very high standard. We have an honor code here. There's no drinking. There's no premarital sex. It's a very clean campus in those regards to moral issues and high standards. And when you get to the NFL, you see there's quite a bit of stuff all around you that if you're not careful, you could get in trouble real quick. And so just the culture was a big adjustment coming from Brigham Young University. But I was surrounded with great people. My position coach was Juan Castillo, and he might be the hardest working coach in the history of the NFL. And he's also a person who stands up for his players in ways that don't always happen. Here's an example. If I had a bad play in a game, then the coaches would watch the film together, and the coaches would see my bad play, and they would say, "What in the world is he doing right there? You can't do that." And Juan would stand up in front of the whole coaching staff and say, "Coach, that's my bad. That's my responsibility. He's my guy."
Wow.
And so blame that on me. And then he would come out of the meeting and he would say, "Bro, I just stood up for you, okay? Now I need you to ball out for me." And that was, man, that engendered a ton of respect for me. And that kind of stuff doesn't always happen. It's hard for a coach to stand up on a table for one of his players and say, "Hey, this is my responsibility." But what that did for me is it made me want to work harder, to prepare more, and it brought the best out in me. So immediately I was surrounded by great people.
You mentioned how the culture changed with having Castillo. What about Andy Reid? What was he like in the locker room? We saw it as an outside perspective with the media. I'm assuming he's completely different behind closed doors.
He's not completely different, but he is a lot more fun. He gives a very basic, standard, almost dry media presentation. So every one of his press conferences, he'll go through the injuries and then he'll say, "Okay, the time is yours." And he keeps it almost flat. He's got he has an amazing ability to be a head coach, to have the presence of a head coach, to carry himself as a head coach. And there's not a lot of head coaches that have that. Most head coaches, they get there because they're very hard workers. They're very smart. They put in the time. So they're not there by accident. But not all of them have the presence of a head coach. And Andy absolutely, totally, 100% has the presence of a head coach. And the two things that I've always said about Andy that sets him apart is he's totally confident and he's totally organized. He's confident in his guys. He's confident in his system. He's confident in treating people the right way. He's confident in he's won a Super Bowl with that system at Green Bay, and he was confident that we were going to win several at Philly. That confidence spreads to the entire organization. That confidence is what carries you through after getting blown out on Sunday by a team. And you got to show up on Monday and get ready for the next game. That's when that confidence is so necessary. And then his organizational skills were impeccable. He was always 2 weeks mentally ahead of where we were. So he knew what our travel schedule was going to be. He knew how hard to push us in practice because he knew what was coming up. He was so organized that he was never caught off guard with any injury. Even when Donovan broke his leg or broke a rib, he was ready to go, plugging in another player. And when you're that organized, then your whole organization, all your coaches, even Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, there was a great sense of stability and balance, which everyone fed off of. So those two things, he was organized and he was confident.
Now, you talked about injuries and bad games. When, say, when McNabb got hurt or after a big blowout, how did you bring you guys back, get back together, get back on track, and keep going in the right direction? And how did you just like set yourself apart from other players and other teams by better preparing yourself?
Well, along with being confident and organized, he was very tough. And so when you lose a game, you can't come into the locker room as a marshmallow. If you come in as just a friend to everybody, you're going to quickly lose respect. Your team's going to quickly start pointing fingers. And you're also going to quickly, the next time a game starts going sideways, your team is going to quickly say, oh, here we go again. So you have to be tough as a head coach to come in after a loss and say, hey, that's bull crap. That's not the way we play. Every person in this locker room needs to take a good look at themselves and see where they can improve and be honest about that. And at the same time you're taking a good look of your mistakes, you have to be hungry and humble moving forward so that you're hungry enough to prepare so that you're ready to win a game on Sunday. And so he had that ability to motivate us, get us going in the right way. And then we had great team leaders. I mean, Donovan and Brian Dawkins and Troy Vincent. We had a host of people that were of great character, of unbelievable athletic talent, of great experience. And I really feel that the team chemistry on the Philadelphia Eagles through those years was second to none. And we were tight, we were strong. It still ticks me off that we didn't win a Super Bowl. And I know we gave the Philadelphia Eagles fans great games and great seasons, but we never delivered a Super Bowl, and it's something that now that I'm retired will just kind of eat at me for the rest of my life. And I feel bad. I'm angry, but I'm also grateful.
Now, you talked about never getting over that hump and winning that Super Bowl. Looking back on it now, do you think any changes could have been made what positions were missing that you would have been able to bring a Super Bowl championship to Philadelphia? Or, in your opinion, do you think there were any specific problems or anything like that?
That's a great question, and it's something, human nature. It's easy to look back and see where we could have been stronger. And my job as a tight end on that football team and as a teammate on that football team was not to be a player personnel director. So for me to look back and point to any one of my teammates and say, man, I wish he was my teammate. I wish we had this other dude, because if we had him, we would have won. If I did that, I would lose the respect of my teammates. And I wish that I was a better player so that we could win those Super Bowls. And so I don't think I'll ever look back and say, man, I wish we would have had a better this player or that player. I'm so proud of my teammates, the ones that we strapped it up and went to war with. And I'm still honored that I was on that team, and I know those guys, and we're teammates, and that we gave it the best we could.
So with football today, the tight end position is, I feel more important than a couple of years ago. It's completely changed. Now you see more two tight end sets, things like that. Do you feel if you've been playing right now, you'd have more passes, more touchdowns?
No, I thought we had a good system there with Donovan, and then early on in my career, my backups were Jeff Thomason and Mike Bartram. Those are guys that I love. I mean, they made practice fun. They made meetings fun. They made traveling fun. They brought the best out of me as a player. And then later in my career, L.J. Smith came on, who was an unbelievable talent. Tony Stewart. I felt like we always had a good crew. And I thought both Donovan and Andy did a great job of getting me the ball. Even when, like, some years my numbers led the NFL, some years I was average by statistical standards, but I felt like we made up for it in spreading the ball around. And what I mean by that is, when Donovan was rolling, if you look back at those games, he would routinely be throwing to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people in a game. And that makes the Philadelphia Eagles very difficult to defend and also consistent. So if one guy has a bad game, that's okay because we have enough people that he's comfortable enough throwing to that we're spread out, we're balanced, and we're strong. And so looking back on it, I love what some of these tight ends are doing. I came out the same year as Tony Gonzalez, who's not only is he still playing at a high level, but he's just a freakish talent of hard work, of preparation, of God-given athletic ability, and I'm pumped to see him still catching balls and doing so well. But looking back on myself, I wouldn't change anything.
You mentioned L.J. Smith and causing matchup problems. One formation I thought caused a lot of matchup problems was the jumbo package, where you'd have a tight end on both sides of the line.
Yeah.
So with that formation, do you think that helped a lot with giving the ball out to receivers that weren't really marked the way that they should have been by the defense?
Well, I was personally very comfortable with that two tight end package. I was used to it at BYU for 3 years here. I played with Itulamili, who played for 9 years for the Seattle Seahawks. He was a beast. And we got to the point in our college career where we knew how each other was running. We played off of each other. We got each other open. So when I was in Philly with Jeff Thompson or L.J. Smith or whoever else, it was real natural for me. I loved it. I was never so possessive of getting balls that it made me mad when L.J. caught it or Jeff caught it. I loved it. And I think that's pretty much how our team was. And I think we thrived off of just winning games as opposed to getting stats.
The internal competitive advantage seemed to play a big role, like you were talking about. In today's Eagles with Chip Kelly, he uses the same sort of philosophies with causing matchup problems, but he moves the players around a lot more, while like a tight end could also go to the slot. Would you have liked to do that? Did you do that with Andy Reid?
I did it a little bit, and there were years where I was flexed out quite a bit, and I enjoyed being flexed out. And LJ did a super job of being, he'd flex out wide as a wide receiver and run some slants, and I thought he did a nice job too. So I like how he used this. I like how he worked this, and I really like what Chip Kelly's done. And it's not just what he's done, but how he's rebuilding the Eagles. I could tell that they bought into his system from early on. You saw Foles and Michael Vick talking, saying, hey, we only want to win games. And they were fine, not fine, but if they were to share playing time, they weren't going to freak out about it. And I attribute a lot of that selflessness to Chip Kelly and bringing in, the attitude and the science and the determination to win. And obviously this season hasn't gone as well so far as they wanted it to. And I think mainly because of injuries. And those are hard to overcome. And I really think that Chip is going to be a great fit, not a good fit, a great fit for the Eagles. His brand of football. He's a tough, hard-nosed coach, but a fun coach at the same time. He's super cool to his players. And I think they're going to be not just fine. I think they're going to be really good. They've got speed. They got to get the healthy guys on the field, but I really like what he's doing.
Do you see these current Eagles players as a possible Super Bowl team?
Absolutely. And I don't say that because I played for the Eagles and that's my team. I say that because I look at the talent level on the field and what they have brewing as a coaching staff. And I think when things work out for them and the puzzle pieces fit in the right places, they're going to have a machine that will be extremely difficult to stop because they're perfectly capable of running a high-speed, high-efficiency offense that can score a lot of points. And when it comes together, it's going to be really fun to watch.
I'm not saying that you have to pick a favorite or any team, but it seems like since you start out with the Eagles, your heart is with them.
Absolutely.
But when you play with the Rams, is that, like, how do you feel about the Rams compared to the Eagles? Do you still follow the Rams today?
I follow the Rams today for two reasons. Because I played there for 1 year, and because Jeff Fisher and I and Teddy Bruschi, we hiked Mount Kilimanjaro 2 years ago with 4 Wounded Warriors with the Wounded Warrior Project. And to be able to spend a week with Jeff Fisher on the mountain, I love that dude. And I'm pulling for him to have great success in St. Louis. And so, yeah, I'm going to follow the Rams as well.
Now, we have 2 more questions for you, Chad. Our first one is, with all the concussions and injuries today in football, what are your thoughts on, like, players coming out now saying they had concussions and they were playing with them? What's your thoughts on that?
It's a violent game. The NFL is doing the best job it can to limit concussions by changing the game, which I thought they would never be able to pull off. I never thought you could pull off finding players for big hits, but they've made it so that it's a targeting penalty and a targeting fine. And the speed of the game is always going to be challenging to make those penalty calls. But I think over the next couple years, they'll get to a spot where they know how to make those calls. The players that are coming up from college and into the pros have a better understanding of what's going to cost you $35,000 in a game. And they're going to figure out how to do it just right. So people aren't not targeting and going down and chopping people and blowing their knees out, but they're still playing a physical brand of football the right way. I think it's still going to take a little bit to sort itself out to get there. And then you asked me what I thought about players, and the concussions. I think that players need to do what they need to do, honestly, to take care of themselves. I have not had a concussion, so I'm not going to sue the NFL. And I think as a player, you go in knowing the risks. The NFL, because of what football is, they're responsible to some degree for the injuries that we all incur and receive as players. So I like the fact that the NFL is trying to take care of former players. And, I'm not going to blame people for putting their name on a lawsuit because I don't know what issues they're dealing with. I'm just grateful that, for the most part, have been healthy.
Now, our final question for you, Chad, is a lot of people don't know this, but you did a lot of charity work, and you were also an ambassador to Southeast Asia, and you went overseas and you worked with them, and you were ambassador to the world, basically, for football. What are your thoughts on this? Did you enjoy it? I heard rumors that you know how to speak, like, other languages. Is that true?
Yes. I was a missionary for the Mormon Church in Taiwan for 2 years before I played college football. So I'm fluent in Mandarin Chinese. And because of that, the NFL has sent me to China multiple times. I've covered the Super Bowl. The first time it went live to China, I was the broadcaster. and it went to 1.3 billion people on their China Central Television. And I didn't have all the football jargon that you need to cover a game. My Chinese was missionary Chinese, and so, I mean, how do you call a game if that's your background besides saying, you know, I testify that Tom Brady is throwing true passes, and that's what I was saying in the game. It was kind of like missionary plus football equals my version of the Super Bowl broadcast in Chinese.
Well, we want to thank you, Chad, for coming on our show. We really do appreciate it, and it was lots of fun hearing about your career and all that you've done in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. It's great to be on. It's great to talk Eagle football, and wish you guys success in what you're doing. Good luck.
Thank you, and we hope to have you on again.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
You too. You too. Bye.
This concludes our podcast of Sports and Rants with Brent and Pants. Thank you for listening. Please follow us on Twitter at Sports and Rants. Like us on Facebook. Remember to subscribe to us on iTunes. And visit our website, www.sportsandrantz.blogspot.com. It would help our rankings on iTunes if you rate and review our podcast. Thanks, and have a good day.